Coming up on the No Ceilings NBA show, your boys are back. We are going to hit all of the updated stock risers. We're going to hit some sleepers. We're going to hit some rookie R.O.I. Maybe a little sell me this pen. All of that coming up next. What's going on, NBA draft fans? Your boys are back. The Wolves of Ball Street, your favorite draft analyst. My name is Corey Tulaba. I'm here, as always, with my co-host, Albert Garbage Time Gim, to hang out with everybody live in the chat, everybody watching on repeat, getting after it, talking some NBA draft, some NBA rookies. Albert, how are we doing on this fine Saturday morning?
We are living the dream, Corey. You did a tweet a couple minutes ago about how we're going live on a Saturday morning, and my quote retweet was Saturdays are for the boys.
That's right.
You know, we're about to have a great time, and also more importantly, Corey, and I know we weren't exactly planning to talk about this, but we got the Super Bowl coming up next week. But for college basketball fans, for NBA draft fans, today may be our Super Bowl. We get AJ versus Darren, NCAA. Really excited for that one. So how am I doing? Oh, also, I'm going to UCLA today to get some Bruins versus Indiana action.
Oh,
so that'll be fun. It's a jam-packed Saturday. I'm feeling great. I'm excited.
Wow, this is a action-packed Saturday. Let's talk about the AJ versus Darren matchup a little bit, because these are two guys, potentially the top two picks in the draft. I don't want to, let's mention Cam Boozer. Is Boozer still your number one prospect?
No. My number one's Darren Peterson.
Okay, so Darren's your number one. I know you were a Booze guy for a while, rightfully so too. I go back and forth on a minute by minute basis on Darren versus Cam, but this AJ versus Darren matchup is got to be the most highly anticipated regular season college basketball game in a minute, right? Like, when was the last time something like this happened?
I have no clue. I actually have no clue. I'm excited though.
Yeah. So, a little backstory on these guys. I mean, obviously, two of the top prospects coming in, people have referred to this class as generational because of them being a part of this top three, which I want to, we'll talk about in our next segment. But when they linked up in high school, Darren had 61, AJ, I believe, had 48. And this is in a high school game, everyone. So in case you don't know, those games are shorter than college and NBA games. Putting up scoring outputs like that are frankly ridiculous. So it's going to be incredibly exciting. I know we got people going live afterwards on the No Ceilings channel. So if you want the post-game analysis, that's where it's at. What do you expect from these two guys in this matchup tonight, Albert?
So what I'm hoping for is not another version of what, we saw from them in high school. Maybe a more tame version of that is what I'm hoping for. What I'm scared of, though, is that we get kind of like a really tame game.
Yeah.
Like, that's what I'm really terrified of, where they just both have like 18 points. And I'm like, man, it's not as fun. But, obviously we're hoping for fireworks is what we're hoping for. I think I've seen 40 to 50 different graphics all over the internet for this matchup.
Many of them by us.
Yeah, well, that's what I wanted to say. Special shout out to our graphics team for making maybe the nicest one out there with their two faces on it, which looked really great. But what I'm hoping for is fireworks, Corey. Will we get that? I feel a little hesitant about if we'll actually get that, but let's see.
Yeah, I'm hoping that even if we don't get like fireworks where they're both putting up, 50 plus point games, I want to see them line up across from each other. I want to see them guard each other. I want to see them live up to the moment. It's going to be exciting. So make sure that you watch that tonight, Saturday night. Okay. Let's get into our segments for the show. Let's start it out. Stock risers of the week. Albert, I'm going to start it with you. Who is your stock riser for the show today?
That threw me off guard. I thought you were like, I'm going to start it off with you. I thought you were going first. Okay. I'm talking a guy who I think, weirdly, we've talked about him a lot more than I thought we did. We've talked about him on like mock draft pods. We've talked about him randomly here or there. But I'm talking about Karim Lopez. He's a guy that I wanted to talk about today, playing for the New Zealand Breakers. So I want to be clear. The reason why he's kind of rising up my boards is like, I think retroactively, I'm starting to understand things about him and his context that are making more sense to me. And as I'm thinking about the jump to the NBA, these things are becoming more important to me, I guess is what I'm trying to say. So, okay, here's the sell, Corey. When we do a breakdown of like skill sets that translate and make sense on the next level, if we're talking about the Corey Tulaba prep school for this, strength and toughness are usually at like the top of that list. That's something you love to talk about, that you love to emphasize. Karim Lopez currently playing for the New Zealand Breakers. Every single basketball game that he plays in that league is against grown ass men. Like these are full on adults, old guys all over the place. When he drives to the rim, I was doing a deep dive of his film. I would say like 30 to 40% of the fouls that he's collecting at the rim or around the basket in the NBA or college, they're reviewing those. Like he's getting mauled sometimes going to the basket. And I think that is important, but also the fact that he's holding his own at that level with that type of physicality and intensity, I think needs to be written down in pen. He is densely built, thick boy, mittens for hands. Just what are those hands? I'm not sure.
Huge.
Crazy. Like it's even on film, you can see how gigantic his hands are. But the thing with me, the reason why I'm so interested by him, obviously he's coming off a 32-point game against Melbourne, 8 rebounds, 3 stocks, had a very good game, right?
Yeah.
And was huge going down the stretch for them. So it's easy for me to be like, okay, he just had a good game. But look at his last 5 games, right? He's been on a good stretch. 32 against Melbourne, 21 against Adelaide, 11 against Southeast Melbourne, which, what a name, Southeast Melbourne. 16 against, I don't even know if I'm pronouncing these names. 16 against Illawarra. But anyway, he's been on a stretch, right? And to our credit, right, we did mention when we talked about it maybe a month ago, we were like, hey, shooting at a good clip, good efficiency, it might come down a little bit, and it has. Yeah. He's currently at 32.2% from 3, so it has come down a little bit. He's had some stinkers, like I think he had an 0 for 6 game, had some rough stretches shooting, but that's, just speaks to where he's at. I think this is like, he is an unfinished product. However, the reason why you get excited about a player like this is he's got legit size of 6'8". We talked about his build, but he's also skilled. He can handle the ball. He can pass the ball. Something that I like is like when he's grabbing rebounds and pushing it up the floor, like that stuff gets you excited about what that can look like on the NBA level. And we talked about this when we did the mock draft pod, Corey, but if he were to end up on a team like the Nuggets and he gets to do like an apprenticeship under an Aaron Gordon, and then that just kind of becomes what his future looks like, where he's like a variant or some sort of type of an Aaron Gordon type of player. That's an exciting guy to take in the late teens, 20s of the draft, because you could get a guy who could potentially be like a number 3 option of a championship winning team who's going to offer you a multifaceted game. So, some of the things that I think that are on tape that I worry about a little bit is like he can look a little like nonchalant and awkward at times, but that I think some of that is age, some of that is him still learning his body. I think he's going to grow out of that. I think he's a little upright at times too, and sometimes he could be a little bit vulnerable with the ball in his hands. But these are all things that he's going to hash out. These are little things that he's going to eventually grow out of, I think, and tighten up. And if he tightens all of that up, with everything that we just talked about in terms of what he already has in his arsenal, we're talking about a very dynamic and also could be a very valuable NBA player. So that's kind of where I landed, where I needed some time to kind of just regroup and realize he's 18 years old right now
Yeah.
and he's playing in a grown man's league. So kind
Second pro
of
season.
right in his second pro season. And so kind of putting all that together, it took me some time to land where I'm at, but I feel a lot better about him now and why I wanted to talk about him as my stock up guy.
Yeah, I love that call. So Kareem has now broken the total points record over the course of a single season for a draft eligible next star. Broke the 15 plus point game record and has tied the 10 plus point game record with Josh Giddey, but he still has 6 games left to play. So he has been unbelievably productive. You talk about how he embraces physicality. Over his last 8 games, he has a free throw rate of 51. So he's getting to the line at a really high rate. The stock numbers, they've been solid kind of the entire time, which is why, when we did discuss him about a month ago, we said, like, this is a guy that I think is going to end up probably higher on draft night than a lot of the mocks and the boards might be currently placing him at. But outside of just like the stock numbers and the disruption being there, it feels like also rotationally, positionally, that stuff is improving as well. Because to be frank, like I wrote about him after he played Dash, in very early on, and he was recovering from an injury, but he was just always out of position. He just, he looked slow. He looked like he was thinking. He looked like he had regressed from the previous year. Now, a lot of that, it seems like, was the fact that he was hurt, but even still, some of the positional stuff, you could at least be in the right spots, and he wasn't. But I think that stuff has improved. You mentioned the shooting. I think this is where you have to eye test this stuff sometimes, where you're like, all right, like, I think this is small sample size theater. He's got a lot of stuff as far as his mechanics that I think he can stand to improve. But his shot's not broken. Might be a little mechanical, but there is a lot for him to work with. And then you talk about the physicality. I mean, you watch some of his drives, outside of just the free throw stuff, he can finish through contact. Like, it's not just drawing fouls. Like, there are guys who are going to get to the line but can't finish there, because they're just not strong enough. He could do both. So he's really intriguing. He's at a position that teams value. And like, if you're a team with multiple picks, like, it really wouldn't shock me. OKC was just like, we can slow play this and let him develop in our system with all of our guys. That wouldn't shock me. Like, it wouldn't shock me if quite a few teams kind of had him on their radar. I know that the Warriors are, it's been reported that they're on their way down under to, get a look at the NBL guys. So I think this is a great call. Obviously, covering him after that 32-point game, he was really clutch at the end of the game, really put the team on his back. It may look a little funky sometimes, but man, has been so productive. And if you're somebody who is strictly an eye test guy, it may have been, you might have been slow to come around. But if you're somebody who's kind of meshing both worlds together, you've noticed that he's actually had a pretty productive season overall.
Yeah. No, and even like me being a homer, if he ended up like even on the Knicks, where the Knicks take him and he gets to learn under Josh Hart, like I'm just the multifaceted versatility to his game is what interests me so much. And once again, like, I know we're kind of beating the dead horse here, but just the physicality that he's playing with at that level, I think deserves like more credit. Because if it was just like, I don't know, if this was even like compared to college basketball, it's just way more physical and they're stronger and they're grown men. So I think he deserves a lot of credit for it, and he's playing through it. So yeah, he was a really fun one for me, and kind of I had to look myself in the mirror to realize I needed to, quantify things a little bit differently with him. And so I really enjoyed it.
Yeah, that's a good shout out. Okay. My stock riser of the week. And this one is, it might seem like, how can this guy really rise all that much on your board? Because he's just risen one spot. But I have kind of officially decided that where I'm at right now on January 31st, I've moved Caleb Wilson ahead of AJ DeMonsa. Now, I'm not one of these people who is just completely fading AJ and I have him at the back end of my lottery. More power to you. Stick with your process. No hate, no shade. I still think AJ is an incredible prospect. I think he's been really good this year. I know he has deficiencies, deficiencies that don't worry me a lot, but worry me a little bit if I'm trying to decide on the guys at the top of the draft. And, I actually moved Caleb ahead of AJ earlier in the year. And then I saw him in person against Clemson. And I was like, oh, I'm an idiot. AJ is insane because at that point, he had a stretch where it really looked like he had made a leap as a playmaker in that he was understanding that he has scoring gravity and he was learning to leverage that consistently. And it's not that the ability's never been there, right? Like we've always seen flashes of this. I mean, he's got some really intriguing talent even as a passer. He's really good at passing with his offhand and he does that consistently. Now he's not Luka or Trey who's, slinging one-handed live dribbles to the weak side of the floor off a ball screen, but like it was always there. Really good, chemistry with Keita in the ball screens, throwing lobs, hitting the roll. But, since we've gotten deeper into conference play, he struggled a little bit there. And Caleb has been consistently awesome from day one. I get it. He has his issues too, right? Oh, it's he doesn't have great touch around the basket if he's not finishing with a dunk. Well, guess what? He's got 60 plus dunks. And we have how many games left to play? He dunks a lot because he's really good at it and it's easy for him to create those dunks. It's like, why would you finish with a layup when you could dunk it? It's a much higher percentage shot. So if he's just going to get a ton of dunks at the next level, and I think he is, whether that is a play finisher or, in transition or whatever, then okay, man, like what's the problem? Because he's not jelly famming it to the rim. Who cares? If you look at at players, okay, since 2008, not freshmen, sophomore, just everybody, BPM of 12, dunks made over 60. And again, this is Caleb's floor with dunks. Like he still has a lot of games left to play. The list is Zion Williamson, Anthony Davis, Zach Edey, Brandon Clark, Keegan Murray, Trace Jackson Davis, Walker Kessler, Evan Mobley, Mark Williams, Caleb Wilson. Those are all really good NBA players. Trace Jackson Davis on the lower end of that spectrum, we'll see. Still an NBA player though. Still going to and Caleb has way more skill than Trace Jackson Davis. And he's a freshman. So I asked this because, I know we get set with narratives. And although we were high on Caleb coming into the year, what if Caleb is just a slightly wingier version of Evan Mobley? Now, I know Evan Mobley, phenomenal defender. And I think that Caleb, while he certainly has, room to improve there, is also a freak defender too, who's going to get consistently better. He's going to fill out and get a little bit stronger, even if he's not bulking up. He's going to get that grown man, wiry strength. He takes things personal. He's super high feel. I mean, amongst that list, he has, he's got the third highest assist to turnover ratio right now. He's got underutilized parts of his games. And if you watch his high school film, not his AAU stuff where he's playing off, the Boozer twins and he's much more of an ancillary complementary guy. But if you watch his high school stuff, he's shooting threes and he's not just shooting spot ups. He's creating like Paul George-esque combo moves. Now he doesn't have Paul George's handle. I'm not trying to say he's Paul George. He just got that. He had the confidence and the freedom to let it fly. Do I think that's going to be a part of his game? Probably not, but it could be. And if I'm getting a guy who has a crazy floor as a guy he's going to hit the offensive glass, he's going to make the right plays, he's going to clean the defensive glass, he's going to defend on the perimeter, he's going to block some shots, he's going to finish everything. He's going to be able to guard multiple positions defensively. And if the shot comes around, it takes him to a whole new level. I'm okay putting that guy in the top 3, and I understand the risk. I know AJ is a special scorer. If he fixes his shot diet to include a little bit more 3, a little less mid-range, if the playmaking becomes consistent, I get all that. I'm just saying Caleb, I think, has as much potential as those guys in the top group. And what I've seen from him carrying this North Carolina team, a team that is not usually or hasn't had a good track record of developing freshmen, and he's kind of just brushed past that like nothing. I'm cool with it. Right now, January 31st, Caleb Wilson has risen. He's in my top 3. I've said it out loud. It's not just for Plus subscribers. You guys know I'm rocking with Caleb Wilson.
Okay, so mic drop. A lot of things for us to discuss. Number one, I think when we talk about stock risers, I think a lot of times our listeners or anyone might be like, oh, maybe you have someone who went from like 40 to 25, which is exactly what I did with Karim Lopez, right? He's like in that range for me now. I think what you just kind of covered with us, Corey, might be an even more significant rise because we're talking about potentially a generational draft class. So for Caleb Wilson going from 4 to 3 for you now, if you weight that against what that actually means, it's a pretty significant rise. So I do want to say that, that's unbelievable. And to your point about your Wilson take, when I think we did a preseason pod on him, right? Before he had even played a minute of college basketball, and we were huge fans. And something that I don't even think you got to mention, Corey, is that we really enjoyed his passing too.
Oh my
when
gosh,
he was in high school, like it was
his passing is sick.
It was phenomenal, and I almost feel like he hasn't fully shown that on the college level, and so that's like a little bit of like untapped type of thing where I'm expecting he's going to be able to show more of that on the NBA level. I like your take on if he's like a more wingy Evan Mobley, but the reason why I get like excited about that is that I think mentally and like spirit wise, he's more aggressive, which I think is a good thing. And
he's got some more dog in him.
Exactly. Like he's not a Disneyland guy. He's not playing Legos. Like he wants to eat you. Like he wants to kill you, type of thing. So I really like that about Caleb Wilson. And no shade to people who like Legos. Okay, I'm just saying, like he's a dog. Like
Miles
he's
Turner.
a ferocious. I know. He's a ferocious dude, and I think like the skill set that he has with the size and athleticism that he has, also the great partnership that he has with Vesar right now at UNC. I think that's been huge for him too. I think Vesar coming in and what he's been able to offer for him as like kind of like almost like a soft landing spot for Caleb and making his life a little bit easier. And then the partnership that they have together, I think,
and vice versa, right? Because defensively, I think that Caleb covers a lot for what Vesar is, deficient in.
Right. So just good synergy between the two. And it was kind of perfect that he ended up in that situation. So I'm with you. I think the shooting's going to come around. That was a big thing that we talked about in his preseason pod. We're believers. We see it. Hopefully we see more. Now at UNC, as you mentioned, like he's just been dunking everything, which is fantastic. You want that. He's playing aggressive. He's running down the court in transition. There's a lot of good stuff. So if you can keep things simple, why not? And he's in a good context to do that. Now, how when we talk about how that's going to extrapolate and, with a bigger, usage and all that stuff, what that's going to look like. Well, once again, go back to the high school tape. There's tons of stuff there. And we're big time believers. So, man,
but even at UNC, like, when we're talking about his shooting, it's not as if there's no shooting flashes because he's hitting incredibly tough shots in like the mid range, right? That elbow extended area. Like he's really comfortable hitting like tough turnarounds. You know what I mean? And I think, one of the people that he gets comped to sometimes, and I'm not ready to go that far, even though I feel like I've been the leader of the Caleb Wilson bandwagon since the summer, is he gets comped to like Kevin Garnett, who was like really proficient in that long mid-range area. But one of the things that I think he can learn from somebody like Kevin Garnett is when like, I have no problem with him taking shots in that area because he's very capable of hitting them because he's got good touch from there. He's confident and he's just so tall with a high release that he can get that shot over. But now let's use it. Pump fake, face up, pump fake, and let's get to the rack.
Yeah.
Right? Because he's really good at getting to the free throw line. And like, this is another area where I think he can attack the rim and create different opportunities consistently at the next level, especially when the floor is a little bit more spread out.
Yeah.
So like, I have no problem with him working there. It's a good kind of anchor point for him to, I think, see the floor and be able to make plays too. So, you know, if the 3-point shooting, if that takes a couple of years, you know, I think we're all still waiting for Evan Mobley to become the 3-point shooter we were hoping he was, you know, potentially could be. And I think with shooting, it's mostly just a confidence thing. So maybe he never gets there if he's not willing, or maybe, you know, last week on Rookie R.O.I, we covered Colin Boyles, who was somebody who wasn't shooting threes in college, but had shown flashes of it in high school. And now he's shooting threes pretty confidently at the NBA level because that's what's going to be asked of him. So maybe it happens, maybe it doesn't, but I just, even without that, or if it's that slow development there, I think he's just got so many other tools to impact the game on both sides. And like, yes, AJ's an incredible shot creator, right? But like, Caleb's getting to the 20 to 25 point range every night. Like, it's not like he's just like, oh, I'm getting 15 points and 12 rebounds. Like, Caleb's getting in the 20-point range regularly with his quote unquote, you know, limited bag. So I think all that stuff's going to improve, especially if he works as hard as it seems like he does. You know, he talks a big game about, you know, how personally he takes certain things. Yeah. So it seems like he's going to work. And
to your point,
I think that, I think that that is a scary proposition.
Yeah. Yeah. To your point about the output, 4 out of his last games, 4 out of his last 5 games, 20 points or more, 8 out of his last 10, 20 points or more. So that's great output. I did want to say this. You mentioned like his mid-range bag, right? And him being, you know, comp to KG. The difference, to your point, is that he's a little bit wingier even with that. Like, you could see a little bit more fluidity. There's like a little bit more of like a smoothness with KG. It really was like a big doing stuff in the mid-range, but with Caleb, it looks more like a wing doing it. But even in that game against Notre Dame, he had this one where he catches it at the elbow. He's like backing his man down, fakes one away, spins over the right shoulder, hits a tough fadeaway too. And it's like, you know, interestingly enough, some of the mid-range jumpers, or a lot of the mid-range jumpers that are like tough and contested, look a lot like some of the jumpers that AJ's been taking as well. And
right.
So there's a big similarity there, and he's doing a great job. Highly efficient season, doing a great season from him. So I'm with you. And I, you know, you're the one who put me on early in preseason, and he's really lived up to all of it. It's been great to watch.
Yeah. And I think, you know, he's an example for me of why it's important to be open-minded, because I saw him at the McDonald's game and I was like, oh, he's trash. You know, and like, you don't take too much from those games. They're all-star games at the end of the day. But I was like, I don't see it. Like, he was really unimpactful in that game. And that was my first like up close look at him. Like, yeah, the frame was cool. But yeah, I was just like, yeah, not for me. And then I went back doing a deep dive of some other people in games that he was in. And I was like, oh, I'm an idiot. This dude rocks. And immediately was like, okay, he's number 4 on my board. And like, he had never left that spot only to move up. And that's where he is now. He's at 3. So Caleb Wilson at 3 on my board right now. I've moved AJ to 4. Not sure if there's another prospect that's going to be able to supplant AJ for me, and because I still think the idea and the potential of what AJ could bring is pretty special in his own right. So, and AJ could definitely leapfrog him at some point too. Like, you know, this is not something that is set in stone. The homework's not due until, you know, the end of June. So this is an ongoing process. So, all right, we are going to take a quick break, and then we are going to be back with penny stock sleepers. We're back. It's the No Ceilings NBA show. My name's Corey Tullaba. I'm here with Albert Gim. Albert, Talk to me. Who is your penny stock sleeper for this week?
Okay, so I cheated a little bit. Thankfully, Professor Tolaba did not penalize me for this. I decided to go with two guys. And the reason why I went with two is because they're teammates. So I'm
Yeah.
kind of like, we're doing two birds, one stone type of situation. Our very own Tyler Rucker, big Arizona fan, being in Vegas with him a couple years back, every time he'd see another Arizona fan, bear down, bear down. Beautiful culture. Love that for them. But I'm talking about two guys from Arizona. I'm talking about Jaden Bradley and Ivan Kharchenkov.
Yes.
Ivan, right? Ivan?
That's,
and we're
you say it both ways. You can't be wrong.
Okay. We're getting worse at this, though. Have you noticed?
You know what? The announcers just say Kharchenkov. They just say his last name.
Good. Yeah, me too. Kharchenkov. We're talking about these two guys from Arizona on my end. There's something about them that I've enjoyed this season. And I think with Jaden Bradley heading into the year, I was kind of like, I wasn't like, yeah, I was like not super excited about him like coming back. And I'm like, Arizona could be interesting. Like, is he going to mess things up with Koa Pete? Man, watching some of these games with Arizona this season, I'm kind of like, they're not winning this game without him. Like, Jaden Bradley's been really important for them. And like, it's just not a tune that I thought I would ever have with him heading into the season. I think some of the stuff with him, it's like he's been a veteran for them, a very steady hand. Sometimes in these really tight games coming down the wire, he just feels like the adult in the room, and he's like grabbing guys and showing them like, hey, we're good. And the thing that I've really enjoyed about him as like an older guy with this young team is that he doesn't feel like he needs to be the alpha or have the ball in his hands all the time. Is something that I've enjoyed as well. Just overall, number one, calming presence. I think that's been good. Obviously, defensively, he's still like ball hawk, great instincts, great hands. He's done a good job of being like pesky, whatever. In the mid range, right? He good mid range jumper once in a while. The volume on threes is still low, but he's at 44.4%. So nice, but you wish he took more of them. I'm not even like. The thing with Bradley is I don't even want to make the argument like, I think he should be drafted, blah, blah, blah. I just like him this year.
I'll make that argument.
Yeah, okay. I think this is where I'm at with him, Corey. Like, if he ends up as like your third or fourth guard, I think that's awesome.
Yeah.
I think he's going to.
Like if he's Aaron Holiday.
Yeah, with more size even.
Yeah.
Like Aaron Holiday with more size. Like,
right.
I like that. He's legit 6'3". He's going to give you toughness as a defender. If you give him 15, 18 minutes a night, I think he's going to come in and not mess things up. He's going to run your second unit. If he continues to grow as a shooter, even better. I just think there's something very solid about him that had me thinking about him as an NBA prospect like I never have before. And just once again, like I just like that he can bring the ball up, get them into their sets, and then he can play off of the gravity of Koa Pete and Braden Burries. He's cutting, getting easy baskets, finding open spots on the floor. It feels like a very like unheralded type of like he's not getting enough credit for what he's doing and how calming of a presence he's been for that team. So wanted to give him a shout out.
I think that's a great call. He's really intriguing. He's had some big games. I mean, he had that monster game. It's almost bookend to, the way we're talking about it now. Cause he opened up, he had 27 in that matchup against Florida where people were like, Arizona's legit. And he was hitting, insanely tough, like pull up, jumpers from the mid range. Like that's his bag. He can get to that elbow all the time. Just coming off a 26-point game against BYU where he was huge. I mean, he's like been efficient. And like you mentioned, like he doesn't need the ball. He's never been a high usage guy.
Mm-hmm.
It's almost like if he was in a situation where he did have the ball all the time, like what might his numbers look like? But the fact that he doesn't need the ball in his hands is important. He's got a usage of 21 right now. And this is the highest usage he's ever had. He's always been sub 20 usage, which like he's just comfortable playing off other guys, but he can, when need be, like go and create his own shot.
Mm-hmm.
And that's been really important. And then he's a really good decision maker. You know, like he might not have the creative flair as a playmaker as some other people all the time, but like he takes care of the ball this year. 4.4 assists to 1.6 turnovers. Like he's a career like 2-to-1 guy. I think he's somebody that will get drafted. And I think he's an NBA player, like because he's, this is not a skinny 6'3" point guard who isn't going to be able to handle the physicality. And we keep going back to strength and physicality. Like he's solid. I loved him at IMG. He was, I believe, a part of the Keontae, Jarrett's teams, right? Like, so Jet Howard was on that team. Shout out Jet Howard. I like Jaden Bradley. I think he's gonna get drafted. I don't think he's gonna get drafted in the first round, but I wouldn't be shocked to see him get drafted in like the 31 to 40 range. I wouldn't be shocked, especially if Arizona has a run. Like maybe similar to like last year, like Javon Small. Like that was a guy who became highly coveted and started picking up steam a little bit later in the cycle. I could see that same kind of thing for Jaden Bradley.
Yeah, just I don't know. I just walking away from his film, I'm just like, oh, I just like him, and sign me up is kind of where I'm at with him. The other guy, I'll try to keep this one quick with Kharchenkov. He just I don't know what dog Germany's known for, but he's like a Rottweiler. Oh, German Shepherd. Hello, Albert. Good morning.
I think you got to go to one of your wife's tutoring sessions.
Hey, to my credit, it's 7:30 on the West Coast, and I've been up.
That's true.
Since 5 because I wanted to look beautiful for this pod. Okay, German Shepherd, Ivan Kharchenkov. One of my weaker moments, Corey. I view myself as an intelligent person, but man, that was tough.
It's early.
Yeah.
Somebody clip this.
No, leave me alone. It's not nice. Okay, Kharchenkov, German Shepherd, just a beast. A guy who brings that like pit bull type of energy to them defensively. That game against Cincinnati, wow. There was a stretch in the second half where he got a deflection and he's like screaming into the crowd, raising his arms, and then the next possession, Cincinnati still has the ball. I think Baba Miller drive into the basket. He gets a hand, goes off of Miller, out of bounds, screaming again. Just freaking, you see the blood veins popping. He is absolutely pumped about 2 straight defensive possessions. And I think that's been really fun to watch. The type of physicality, intensity, focus on the defensive end of the floor has been great for this Arizona team. He's like 6'6", 6'7", looks like he's got good wingspan, really gets in your shirt, chest to chest. He's like living in your shirt type of defender. When he wants to deny the ball, he will absolutely deny the ball. I mean, he is making life hell for some guys. And that nastiness, he played for Bayern Munich last year. He's from Munich, Germany. Just a really interesting prospect, and a guy who, the jumper, I feel weird about, because I think sometimes on his follow through, he does that little like, who did this? Was it Amen who did it? But like the hand kind of goes to the side on the follow through at times. But I think eventually he could become like a 3-and-D type of wing. But because he's so intense and he loves defending so much, I'm just like, when I watch them, I'm like, he really pops off the screen, and he gets you amped up because of how much he wants to play defense. So I wanted to give these 2 guys a shout out because they've been really fun to watch. Obviously, Burries and Pete get all of the spotlight and the glory right now, but these are 2 very underrated contributors to this very good Arizona team.
Yeah, he's a ton of fun. And the shot, it's not like, I think if he was shooting it this year, like if he was 37, 38% from 3, he could be a one and done.
Yeah.
Right now he's at 31.5%, 75 from the line. And I mean, he's in a very low volume, type of role. So with an off season of him just like honing his jumper, like this is a guy that you want. Positive assist turnover ratio. Like you said, I mean, the defense, always getting after it, crazy motor. And I think the shot looks okay.
Yeah.
So like just spend the off season, just shot. And he's a guy that I think next year is gonna pop, and like he could be like the Pelle Larsson type of guy for a team, you know?
Absolutely.
It's a
I can
guy
see
who's
that.
like, he's a good NBA player now. Like, or going to be a good NBA player. Like, he's going to be interesting to a lot of teams just because he has the size and does the dirty work, and like he's one of these guys that, as a positive decision maker, like he's just going to find his way like on an NBA floor.
And really quickly, I went back and watched some of the stuff that he was doing at Munich, and there's more there. There's more there offensively with him. He can be like slithery and stuff with the ball. Like I'm excited to see. To your point, I think he goes back, and I would like to see what this looks like next year because it could be even more fun than what we've already seen.
No doubt. Those are really good calls. Okay. My sleeper of the week is Wofford's Kahmare Holmes. Okay, so this is a deep cut sleeper. Holmes is 6'3", 205 with what looks like insanely long arms, like plus wingspan, strong as a bull, sophomore guard who popped up on my radar a lot, like very early in the year because he just fills it up. This year he's averaging 19 points, 5.7 rebounds, 2.6 assists, 2.1 steals. He's getting the free throw line 6.6 times a game. He's got splits of 48, 34, 70. So the shooting is like a little inconsistent, but he's coming off a game where he just had, I think, 18 free throw attempts a few games ago. Like he's had multiple, I think like 4 games where he's gotten to the line over 10 times. Now they're playing in the SoCon conference. They're not playing in the SEC, and he's doing this. He's just got a really interesting statistical profile. If you dig into some of the advanced stuff, 4.6 offensive rebound, 16.7 defensive rebound as a listed 6'3" guard, 18 assists to 10.8 turnover, 4.1 steal, 1.2 block, 30 usage, and he's got a +7 jump in BPM from his freshman season to his sophomore season. So he's just made insane strides. He reminds me stylistically because there's a lot of fun guys who are pop up on stat queries, and then you watch them and you're like, no, this is not going to work. And I watched him and I was like, oh, he can rock with the ball in his hands. Like he reminds me of Tyreek Evans. Now, like stylistically, do I think he's the level of prospect that Tyreek Evans was? No. But he's a guy that I think should be somebody that colleges are trying to get to transfer up because he will be able to handle the physicality. He's comfortable with the ball in his hands. He's a pretty good decision maker, and the shot is trending up. As a freshman, he shot 22% from 3, but he was shooting 7 threes per 100. So like not scared. This year he's shooting 8.6 threes per 100 and he's at 34%. So he's trending in the right direction. The free throw percentage improved, went from 62% to 70%. And again, he's shooting a ton of free throws. He's tough. He's physical. And I think he's a guy who is going to transfer up and could potentially pop next year because he has all of the physical tools. 6'3", 200 plus, crazy long wingspan, and just stylistically, he's got shake, he's got twitch, he can punch on you. He's really fun.
I'm going to take you guys behind the curtains a little bit here. I'm going to read you guys a text message. So on Thursday at 3:32 p.m., Corey Tulaba texts me, penny stock sleeper, Kahmare Holmes, Wofford. I responded, how dare you? Holmes is not a real person. Hey, no disrespect to Kahmare Holmes, but buddy, I never heard of you. And that's a me thing. I had never heard of him.
Most people
never
haven't
seen him play. Yeah,
that's why he's
never
a penny
seen him
stock
play.
sleeper.
That's why Corey is crazy. You are absolutely sick, man. Never heard of him, but you sent me some stuff to watch him, and I went, well, I get it now. I see why there's an intrigue, and I have no idea how you found him. Respect to that. but a lot of fun. The Tyreek Evans shout is interesting. There's something like very like low and center of gravity ish to him that I get, which was always Tyreek Evans' thing, right? He was like 6'5", 6'6", but had such like great balance and a great center of gravity. And I see that with Holmes as
Dude,
well.
his rookie year, I went to see him against the Knicks,
Mm-hmm.
and the Knicks were up big.
Mm-hmm.
And then he just destroyed the fourth quarter, brought them to overtime. And it was one of like the classic, like mid 2000 Knick collapses that you just expected. And I was like, oh my God, Tyreek Evans is the best player I've ever seen in my life. It was like an insane game to be at. But yeah, tangents aside.
Yeah. But anyway, what a call. An actual penny stock. That's beautiful. I will stop now because I just haven't seen enough.
Yeah. And most people haven't. I think he's somebody who at least is like interesting enough. Like, cause I mean, we're deep on draft Twitter. Like, this dude is like a crazy highlight guy too. Like, if you're just looking to create like engaging content for the eye test side of draft Twitter, he's got a crazy fun game. But he also has interesting things within his statistical profile. So if he continues to make strides as a shooter, transfers up, and hey, like, maybe he doesn't transfer up. Maybe he just continues to get better, stays in that conference and dominates, and he takes the, like Dylan Jones route where he just gets better incrementally every game, or every year rather, and like pops on Raiders that way as a guy who just got better and like showed that he could be the guy who plays with the ball in his hands. So I don't know, but I think he's an interesting, like, longer term bet that I would imagine is going to get like a pretty big bag in the transfer portal this year. So check him out. He's fun. And I think I'm glad that, we got to at least shout him out on here because he's having a great season. So we are going to return shortly, take a quick break, and then we'll be back and we're talking a little rookie R.O.I. All right, we are back. Corey Tulaba, Albert Gim here on the No Ceilings NBA show. And Albert, it's time for some rookie R.O.I. And this week we are talking Ace Bailey from the Utah Jazz, the number 5 pick in the 2025 NBA draft. A prospect within that draft class that was very contentious. And this year has had a very interesting season for Utah. So I'm excited to talk this one through with you. Quickly, Ace Bailey, season averages, 25 minutes per game, 11.3 points, 3.5 rebounds, 1.7 assists to 1.2 turnovers, 1.1 stocks, 45.5, 35, 72 splits. In his last 10, averaging about 30 minutes per game, 15.1 points, 4.4 rebounds, 2.2 assists to 1.3 turnovers, 1.3 stocks, 50, 34, 100 splits. So, Albert, what is your takeaway, kind of following Bailey throughout his rookie campaign?
Okay. So I want to just kind of cover the statistical stuff that I like to cover at the start.
Yeah.
First off, playing for a Utah Jazz team that has been interesting this season for a lot of different reasons that I want to cover. Playing under Will Hardy, a team who offensively, they've been a very interesting team. So currently 28th in the league in net rating, 30th in the league in defensive rating, 17th in the league in offensive rating. So I think that's something there. Now, what's been interesting about them offensively, number 1 in the league in assist percentage. That's something. Yeah. Number 2 in the league in assists overall, right, per game. So they're doing a good job of sharing the ball. And another interesting thing about them offensively, 2nd in the league in pace, only second to Miami, who's playing at an unreal pace this season. Spoelstra got them playing a different brand this year. But they play fast, they share the ball. And with that in mind, I think they brought Ace Bailey in for his rookie season and said, hey, bud, you're going to be a play finisher for us early on. We want to keep things simple for you. We don't want to make things too complicated. And also, in some ways, and they probably didn't say it in this way, but maybe protecting him from himself a little bit has been kind of the spirit here. So big time play finisher, not being asked to do a ton with the ball in his hands. A lot of pin downs, a lot of dribble handoffs, nice cuts to the basket for easy layups and dunks, a lot of wide open threes that he's either making or missing right now. But
Mhm.
overall, something that I did want to highlight is he's got really nice synergy with Yusuf Nurkic, and Nurkic is having this Jokic esque type of
Yeah.
season for them in Utah. Obviously not to the level of Jokic, but he's doing,
Hey, former
his
teammates.
I know, but like the triple double stuff with him has been
He's
great
been
and
phenomenal.
phenomenal. And Nurkic has been a big part of this assist percentage and the pace and how they're playing. It's been really, really great. So I did want to cover a couple of things. So with Bailey, over his last 10 games, as you mentioned, he's been playing better. He's been starting games for them, been scoring the ball more, a little bit more efficient from the field as well. I know last night wasn't like the best night for him. I think he had what? Let me see, 12 points, 5 of 10 shooting though. 5 of 10.
Yeah.
We'll
And
give
I think
you just
he
that.
was +5
Right.
too in the night, plus
Right.
minus.
So he's on a good streak right now. But when you turn on the film, something that I wanted to note, because I think this is why Utah and their coaching staff wanted to simplify things for him, because I think there are two things in play here, Corey. Number one, I think they still want him to continue to develop into his body. When you watch him on film, there are still moments in almost every single game where you see how he suffers from the lack of physicality, or no, not physicality, overall strength.
Yeah.
There is an overall strength that he needs to continue to build upon. Another thing is when it comes to the ball handling, things can get a little bit loose sometimes. And I think when you take into consideration the lack of strength plus him needing to tighten up the handle a little bit, I think you see it most with the stuff that he's doing in the mid range. And this is what I mean. Whether it's off of pin downs or dribble handoffs or whatever, or he's attacking a closeout, there are a lot of times when there are opportunities for, if he was a little bit stronger, if he was a little bit more, I think, tighter with the ball in his hands, he could go all the way to the basket, embrace contact, finish through it, collect fouls, blah, blah, blah. But right now, what we're seeing a lot of is he's coming off of these actions and just pulling up for either open mid-range
Yeah,
jumpers
the elbows. Yeah.
at the elbows or contested. But I'm watching a lot of these possessions going, I just wish you kind of just went all the way to the basket on some of these. And we're seeing that even in the stats currently on the season, he's averaging under a free throw per game. And now he's shooting 72.2%. But for the profile of player that you're expecting to get when you grab a guy like Ace Bailey at where they did in the draft, in year 2, 3, and 4 moving forward, you're going to want to see that free throw number and attempts per game go up, because you're going to want him to be more dynamic, more aggressive, going to the rim, embracing more contact, and doing more of that. So I did want to kind of pause there and give you an opportunity to talk on that, Corey. But I just it's a little thing where I've enjoyed his game a lot, and I love the role that they have him playing in right now. But when I'm thinking about the future and how this is going to trend, that's what I want to see. I want to see him gain more strength, more mass, be more aggressive going to the basket, and find more opportunities, not just for himself, but for his teammates as well. And I think if we get to the point where obviously the shooting continues to go in an upward trajectory, and the handling and the stuff that he's doing with the ball in his hands continues to grow, and he's taking 6, 7 free throws per game, man, we've got a great player on our hands. And I think the reason why we have to have this conversation is because I think both of us believe he can be a very, very good NBA player.
Agreed 100% with the physicality issue. And I think a lot of it not only pops up on the offense side of the ball, where he is kind of coming off those off-ball actions and getting to those elbows, mid-range areas, and whether he's open or not, kind of rising and shooting shots he's capable of making, and instead of trying to get all the way to the rim, but also on the defensive side of the ball, where, like when they played the Clippers, he was guarding Kawhi. I think he's been like pretty good on the ball. Like he gets low in his stance, he's putting effort in, he gets wide, right? And he could slide. The problem is, you look at somebody like Kawhi, who is a grizzled veteran, who is like the strongest dude ever, and he could dip his shoulder and create all of the separation that he needs to create the looks, even when somebody like Ace is shadowing him, because he just, at 200 pounds, despite his athleticism and his length, he just doesn't have the strength yet to absorb those bumps and kind of like really impact it. He can try, he'll make it a tougher shot with those other physical gifts. But at the end of the day, for an elite scorer, which the league is full of at that position, he just isn't strong enough yet. And he could get there, right? Like I think he's got the ability to put on enough weight to make those situations different as he develops. But offensively, I think that's all true. I like, though, that he is more confident now. And I like the Utah fit was so exciting because, one of the things that we repeatedly said at No Ceilings throughout the draft cycle with Ace is that, like, looking at him as the shot creating on ball guy is perhaps looking at him through the wrong lens. He is so good. And he, at Rutgers, flashed so many cool things off the ball where he was flying off these movement actions and hitting these tough fall away threes with defenders draped all over him that looked so effortless. And it was like, that's the stuff you can't teach. Even if he isn't, the Paul George smooth 6'9" wing shot creator that people want him to be and that he flashed at times in high school, he still has all of these other tough shot making gifts that are just not super available, and that's why he was so enticing, along with the athleticism. He's got 46 dunks on the year, and some of them are like really impressive acrobatic, that one like reverse under the basket dunk was insane from earlier this year. But the role that Will Hardy has put him in is just so perfect for his development. And he came out hot in the preseason, and he's continuously kind of been good executing his role. Now, it's not to say that it's leading to winning. You look at the lineup data, there's not a lot of positives there. You mentioned, the synergy with Nurkic. I think he's been important for everybody on that team synergy, but he's also had, and it's limited minutes, but minutes with Filipowski and Laurie have been really good. Walter Clayton, I think he's had good synergy with. So they're like all of the pieces right now for Utah. I don't think they're super concerned about the plus minus and the net ratings and the RAPMs and they just are trying to instill a system and develop these guys into winning habits. And like Ace he's in the 8th percentile for on ball percentage. 6.6% of his possessions have been on ball reps. Like that's really low for a guy who you look at as like, a Paul George type shot creator. But even still, he's done such a good job with all the off-ball actions and making really smart cuts to the rim.
Yep.
Right? Like, so he's doing all of this cool stuff. And then I actually do think maybe it's because he's not trying it as much. I feel like his handle has been a little bit tighter than it was at Rutgers, where it would get a little loose. You still see it at times where he's like you mentioned, like he's settling for areas, and that's why you're not seeing his handle continuously get looser, because he just knows he's going to lose the ball, and he's trying to get put himself in a better situation. But I think that's been a little better. The other thing, he's doing a lot less catch and hold. He would get the ball at Rutgers and then he would kind of jab step. And even if he was only taking 2 or 3 dribbles to get to a shot, it was like killing the flow of the offense. I think he's doing a much better job of making quick decisions. So whether that means he's shooting the ball right away off the catch, whether he is getting the ball, pump faking and going, and getting to the rim, whether it's getting the ball and making a quick swing. And I think the passing, which was a big question mark for him, is something that's been really good. I think he's shown some really quick 0.5 decisions and feel that has been kind of encouraging. And that shows, I think, overall in the numbers on the season, 1.7 to 1.2 assists to turnovers. And then over the last 10, 2.2 to 1.3. So like something that's trending up with his decision-making. So I think the passing's been better than expected.
Yeah.
Now it's just about all of the other things that are going to lead to winning habits. Defensively, I love the effort. We talked about the strength issues. The one thing that I think we all thought was going to translate with him, he's always been awesome at those weak side shot blocks where he comes over and just like erases shots, chase down shot blocks, just where he can use his athleticism, the elite timing he has in those situations. And I think that's going to provide a lot of good stuff, especially right now. They're without Walker Kessler playing, right? And their defensive anchor, they need some of that stuff. But he definitely needs to get better defensively as far as awareness. Sometimes he loses his man, he'll get back cut. And then, the NBA, the offenses are so complicated. And like you need to be able to like scram switch, at the drop of a hat. And like he's still kind of processing those like a step slow. But he's flying on closeouts, trying to like the effort stuff is there, the willingness is there. And I think he's just in the perfect situation that even if it's not perfect right now, even if he isn't the guy that people thought could challenge Cooper Flagg as the number one pick coming into that draft cycle, he has all of the makings, I think, of an impactful wing. And Utah's brewing something. Keontae, monster leap, right? Laurie, I mean, whether he's there in the long or short term, they're either going to get a bunch of assets or he's going to be a guy they grow with. Filipowski has been a really good player for them since he's been there. I like Walter Clayton. I'm still a believer in Bryce Sensabaugh. Walker Kessler, I know there's always rumors they want to get rid of him. I don't know why they would, unless, it comes contract time and he's going to demand a ton. But even then, you'll get something back for him. I don't know. The assets, they're going to add, another draft pick this year to this core. Cody Williams is coming alive a little bit.
I was going to say, yeah.
He's coming alive a little bit. So I'm a believer in what they're building there. Will Hardy is one of the best coaches in the entire league, bar none. Obviously their decision makers there are, Danny Ainge has shown he can put together a championship caliber roster. They're taking the long approach. Even if they're not winning games, they're a ton of fun to watch.
Yeah, a couple of things to piggyback off of what you said. The Cody Williams shout, yeah, he's been playing well recently. I think he deserves some credit. Defensively with Ace, I really agree with what you said in that he can really bother shooters. And that's something that I really noticed on the film. Like he does a good job of using his length to bother shooters when closing out, if he's just on an island, whatever, does a good job. He gets steals too. The effort is always there. The only thing that I'm like hoping for, this is maybe like a future thing, just like maybe crash the boards a little bit more, 3.5 boards per game. But with his size and athleticism and effort level, I could see him getting more. And maybe that's a future thing. Offensively, to your point about the handle getting tighter, I definitely agree. But also to your point about there still being room for him to grow. The game against the Clippers, Kawhi was just swiping at the ball at times against him. When they played the Heat, Hawkes gave him some trouble, just bodying him up, using his strength, walling him up. Yeah. So you see that a little bit, but I think that's all in the calculus right now with Will Hardy and that coaching staff, and that they see the writing on the wall. At this point in Ace Bailey's development, they just want to protect him. And I think that's so smart, right? And rather than throwing him the ball and be like, hey, go create a million things for us, which would then lead to a lot of trouble. They're like, hey, we're going to play an unselfish brand of basketball with high pace. We're going to move the ball. You mentioned earlier about, his processing getting faster and he's passing the ball better. I think a lot of that also, the coaching staff and their system deserves a lot of credit for that too, in the way that they play and that brand of basketball. So with Ace, to your point, I think he's in a good system. He's in a good context. And I think them setting him up in year one to be in this kind of like what we talked about with Yegor Dioman with the Nets, and how they're utilizing him and giving him this runway to grow into things and also highlight what he's good at, which a lot of people didn't realize he was good at with his outside shooting. I like what they're doing with Ace. And at the end of the day, what's most important for us as fans and as, people who are, studying this stuff, what we're seeing now from Ace in year one, this is the setup, right? This is the building. They're setting the foundation for what his floor is going to be for an NBA player. As they build upon this, it's terrifying to think what his ceiling could be. And I think the fact that they're taking this first year to really solidify things with him and in this simplified role while teaching them their system and their culture, this is a great way to build up a young player who is extremely talented and athletically gifted, and to put this into his system and to see how he grows from here, I think is really, really smart development philosophy. And I think Utah's doing a great job with him. And we've already seen it with some of their younger players too, and hoping to see more, even from a guy like Taylor Hendricks, who we were big fans of and we continue to be fans of, how he's going to continue to grow in that system. So, big fans of Ace and big fans of how he's being used this year and what this is going to look like.
Yeah, it feels like Utah is like one real foundational piece away, because they have all of the ancillary depth stuff with some really high level talent. And, when you put, I think, some big fish, whether that's through the draft, through a trade, next to all of the prospects that they have. And I think it should come as a perimeter player in the backcourt, because I think Keontae, while he's shown he can run the show, he also has a lot of that, like Jamal Murray, where he could play off the ball and, operate next to somebody else. So I think if we get like a foundational player in that backcourt around these guys, it could be a team that kind of has like a Detroit Pistons type of rise through, up the ranks. Now, obviously, the East and West, there's a disparity in talent, and how easy it is to do that, where Detroit went from like the worst team, breaking records for losses and all that, to now the number one team. It might be a little harder in the West, but they can, I think, have a similar kind of ascension in how fast it happens, to where they become maybe, a top 5 kind of team based on the talent that they're developing. So I'm really interested in what they've got brewing there in the long term, even if the immediate results as far as wins aren't showing up as much as you would like based on the talent. But they have a lot of pieces, and they're building these things out. And Ace Bailey and his rookie campaign has been one of the fun storylines of this season for the Utah Jazz. All right, everybody, thank you for rocking with us here on the No Ceilings NBA show. My name's Corey Tulba. I'm here with Albert Gim. We will be back next week. Make sure that you stay locked in to the No Ceilings NBA show. We're going to have more fun content over this weekend, breaking down BYU and Kansas. The Draft Sickos will be back on the feed as well. Make sure you check out the mock draft peer review from the Tylers, the Deep Dives crew with Paige and Nick. Check us out on the Locked On NBA Draft with No Ceilings feed, where the whole crew is breaking down NBA draft prospects all week long. And I hope everybody has a phenomenal weekend, a great week. Like, follow, share, all that fun stuff. Appreciate y'all rocking with us on this Saturday. We are out. Peace.